So, Unit 3, Lesson 1, Investigation 1. Okay, we're still kind of adding to our toolkit. Yesterday we learned about slope. Okay, today we're going to go a little bit further with slope now. Okay, we're going to be talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. Now, why would it be important to know if two lines are parallel or perpendicular? You're thinking about last unit, aren't you? Right? Last unit it works with no solution, one solution, or infinite solutions, right?
Yep.
But with this unit, we're worried about classifying quadrilaterals, right, Whitney? Okay. Some quadrilaterals have parallel sides, don't they?
I guess.
Some quadrilaterals have perpendicular sides, right? So if I can tell if two sides are parallel or perpendicular based on their slope, well, now I can find out things about that quadrilateral. I can start to classify that. So if we can calculate the slope and figure out if the lines are parallel or perpendicular, then we can classify the quadrilateral. Does that make sense, guys? So our purpose, even though we're not getting the quadrilaterals today, is to be able to identify parallel lines and perpendicular lines so we can use that to classify quadrilaterals. All right, so let's say I have an axis. Okay. An x and a y-axis. Call this one y, this one x, that's how it goes, right? Okay. I'm just going to draw a random line. Here's my random line. We'll say the slope is 3/2. Okay? Does that make sense?
No.
Why not?
Okay, yeah, it does.
Okay. So this means
The way you said it.
the slope being 3/2, right? The reason why I like fractions is because it's easy to figure out my rise and my run. That means it goes up 3, right? Over 2, and I'm back on the line. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Now, I want to draw a line that's parallel to this one. If I'm going to draw a line that's parallel to this one, what do we know about those two lines?
They have the same slope.
Same slope. How do you know they have the same slope?
They're next to each other.
Because they're next to each other, right? And they're never going to intersect. So to have to draw a line that never crosses this one, that means its slope would also have to be 3/2. Okay? And that's because parallel lines are two lines that don't what? Intersect. Two lines that never intersect. Right? Two lines that never intersect. Those are parallel lines, right? And since they never intersect, that means their slopes are the same. Does that make sense? Okay. Kind of review, huh?
Yeah.
Something you might have known before. Now let's say I have two lines that are Josh, homie. Josh is traveling music for us. Okay. Once again, we'll just say the slope is 3/2 again. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a line that's perpendicular to that one. What does perpendicular mean?
Opposite. I mean,
Two lines are perpendicular. What does that mean about the lines?
across each other.
Do they intersect?
No. Yes.
Yes. How do they intersect?
They.
How do they intersect? There's something special about the intersection.
On the y-axis.
Nope. Way to go, Doug. Nice try. I appreciate the effort. How do they intersect? How do they intersect? Okay, it has to do with the angle formed, right? What type of angle forms when they intersect? Not 180. Not 360. 90. Okay? So, perpendicular lines. We'll get there eventually, right? Perpendicular lines are two lines. Two lines that intersect and form what? Not a baby. And form an X? But what's special about it?
A right angle.
A right angle. two lines that intersect and form a right angle. Right angle means 90 degrees. Okay. Oh. Does anybody remember this? I almost tripped. Does anybody remember Does anybody remember the symbol for perpendicular?
Oh, it's the
that
Greek
thing right
word.
there.
Nope, that's change.
Wow.
It's a T, but it's
Upside down.
upside down. Okay. So that upside down T, that means perpendicular. You don't need the parentheses. Okay. I don't want to confuse you. Okay. So that upside down T, that means perpendicular. Okay. So this is perpendicular. Okay. It doesn't mean hope, right? It means perpendicular. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about perpendicular and parallel? Okay. Now, this slope was 3/2, right? Was positive. What does this slope have to be for the black line? This was positive. This one has to be negative, right? The slope must be negative for that line. If one's positive, the other one has to be negative, Faith, in order for them to be perpendicular. Does anyone by chance know what that slope has to be?
3/2. Negative.
You're close.
-4.
-2.
Don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me.
-2/3. Okay. What happened to the fraction? I flipped it and made it negative. Now when I flip a fraction, those are called what? Reciprocals. Good, nice job, China. Okay. So, in order to have perpendicular lines, the slopes are negative. Okay. Andre, you got a question? Okay. The slopes are negative. Does this mean they're both negative or one's negative?
One's negative.
One's negative. They have to be opposite. Okay? So if this was -3/2, the negative reciprocal of -3/2 would be +2/3. Okay? So the slopes are negative reciprocals.
J. Cole told me that word.
Slopes are negative reciprocals. Okay? That is a big word. Right?
Well,
So-
probably not big. I just don't.
It's just different, right? It's new. Okay? I practiced this morning in the mirror. R-E-C-P.
How do you practice
I'm just joking. I messed it up. Can I have country of origin, please? All right. So slopes are negative reciprocals, right?
Right.
So what does reciprocal mean?
Opposites.
Not necessarily opposite. Opposite is what the negative comes from. This negative sign means
Reverse.
the negative part means opposite sides. It means I do what with the fraction?
Reverse. Flipping.
Flip them. Okay. Two numbers are reciprocals if when you multiply them together you get 1. So 1/2 times 2/1. Right? If I do 1/2 and I multiply by 2/1, right? My 2's will cancel, won't they? Right? And I'll end up with what? 1. So those numbers are reciprocals. Okay? Now I'm not as worried about the definition of reciprocal as I am how we find them. So to find reciprocals, what do we do with our fractions? If I have a fraction, what do I do with it?
Flip it.
Flip it. Okay? So we flip the fraction. And long, this is why I like you writing your slopes in fractions instead of decimals. Okay. So let's say I have some numbers. Let's say I have 5 halves. Let's say I have 4. Let's say I have -3/4. Let's say I have 1/2. Those are 4 fractions, right?
What's the 4?
4 is a fraction. Because this is 4/1. Okay? So 4 fractions, right? What's the reciprocal of 5 halves? What is it? -2. No, just 2/5. The reciprocal is 2/5. Okay? The negative reciprocal will be -2/5. Okay? Right now we're just looking at reciprocals, not negative reciprocals. Okay? What's the reciprocal of 4? 1/4, because 4 is really 4/1, right?
Yeah.
So the reciprocal of that is 1/4. Negative 3/4.
4.
Negative 4/3. Right? 1/2. 2. Right? Because that's 2/1. So those are the reciprocals. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I was worried about perpendicular lines, I wouldn't just take the reciprocals, but I'd also take the opposite sides. So if these were slopes of two lines, if these are perpendicular, one of these would have to be negative. Okay, just one, not them both. So it'd be 5/2 and negative 2/5. Then they'd be perpendicular lines. Okay, does that make sense? 4/1 and negative 1/4. Negative 3/4 and positive 4/3. Okay? 1/2 and negative 2. Those would be perpendicular lines. But that's just reciprocals. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? Are there any questions about that? Any questions?
They said hi.
Do you have a question?
They said
She was
They
still
said hi.
doing it, Mr. Branch.
Where's my cursor? There we go. We good? All my junk's in the way. Okay, so calculate the slope of each line if needed. And it says that should be then. Then determine if the lines are perpendicular. So if I want to figure out if line 1 and line 2 are perpendicular, what do I have to do with line 1 and line 2? Find the slopes, right? We need to find the slopes of line 1 and line 2, right?
Yeah.
So my points for line 1 and line 2, I get them in the picture. There we go. My points for line 1 and line 2 are negative 2/3, or not negative 2/3, negative 2 comma negative 3. Dang it. My goodness.
My goodness gracious.
This is too difficult for me some days. Mr. Branch isn't perfect all the time.
He's not on Friday.
Whoa, I'm perfect on Fridays. Especially Fridays when you guys aren't here. Like this Friday. Alright, so here's line 1 and 2, right? If I want to figure out these lines are perpendicular, what do I have to do with those lines?
You have to get the slope.
Get the slope. Okay, so for part A, line 1, right? Remember, slope m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? Right? So for line 1, the top one, don't get confused by the bottom one. What is my y2?
2.
3.
I thought we do x.
3. Nope, y's are on top. Okay?
I quit.
No, you don't. 3 is y2, right?
Yeah.
So I have 3. x2 is 2. So 3's on top, 2's on bottom, right? Okay. y1 is,
Negative 3.
so minus negative 3. Okay. And 2 minus negative 2. Does that make sense? Okay. Josh, now that we have that done, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. You're confused. What about Audrey?
Oh, never mind, I got it.
You got it now? Okay. So what's 3 minus negative 3?
0.
6.
6. 2 negatives make positive, right? So we end up with 6 over
4.
4. Does that reduce?
Yes.
What does that reduce to? Okay, equals 3/2, right? So that's line 1. Correct? Okay. Line 2. I feel like I'm like a operator or something. Go for line 1. Okay. Line 2. What's my y2? 0. What's my x2? 3. Guys, I find better success if you do y2 and x2 first. Because then you don't, I guess for me it works better if I do it that way. Yours might be different. So, what's y1? 2. So 0 minus 2. What's x1? 0. So 3 minus 2 is, or sorry, 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 3 minus 0 is 3. So we have negative 2/3 and positive 3/2. Are those reciprocals?
Yes.
Yes. Are they negative reciprocals? Yes. I know they're negative reciprocals because one is
Negative.
positive and one is negative, or one is negative and the other is
Positive.
positive. If they're both the same sign, they're not negative reciprocals. They gotta be opposite sign. So are these lines perpendicular? Yes. Yes. Line 1 is perpendicular to line 2. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. Any questions about that? Any questions? Okay. I would like you guys to try B. Okay. Figure out if B has 2 perpendicular lines. Line 1 and line 2. You want to be on camera?
What?
You want to be on camera?
No.
Andrea, you trying me?
Yes.
Okay. Faith, you wait? Or you getting some of my bag?
Yes.
Okay. Andrea, be nice.
hurtful.
It was hurtful. She just got done talking about she had a bad day.
That was hurtful. I'm so hurt.
That doesn't make things better.
Yes, it did. It made
Okay.
me happy.
It made you happy.
It made her happy.
Okay, good.
Mr. Barron's quick question. In line 1,
Yep.
is the positive 2 x1 or is that y1?
The positive 2 right here.
Yeah.
Remember, it always goes x comma y, right?
Okay, right.
So this 2 is an x.
X1.
Yep, and that 1 is y. Okay. Good. Fixing your hair from the homework?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not me. Would you just say things?
They're so nice to each other. Faith, Andrea, you guys done?
Almost.
Almost, okay.
Aww. Someone told me they loved me the calculator.
So nice.
Really?
Guys, focus please.
You guys are being to me.
You're being to yourself.
Mr. Rich, they're bullies.
Alright, sounds like we're done.
No!
Okay, because we're talking an awful lot.
No, I'm almost done.
Look.
Oh, they're so nice. Don't get mad.
These are not.
No, these get
I don't think.
Yeah, he does get mad.
These
I'll show you a picture in a second.
Have you guys ever seen Mr.
Me going.
Gulster? I mean, Mad?
I got a picture of
Mr.
you.
Gulster?
Mr. Gulster, man?
Have
Yeah,
you
I've seen him many times.
Mr. Gulster?
Scary.
He be cussing. Like, I don't think he cussed.
Alright, line 1. Andrea, he doesn't cuss. Okay. Line 1. How do we find the slope? What's y2? 1. What's x2?
Negative 2.
-2. What's y1?
1.
1. What's x2?
2.
Or x1, sorry. You guys know what I meant. So -1 minus 1 over -2 minus 2. What does this equal?
0 over 4.
0 over -4, right? Okay, which equals
0.
0. Okay. Line 2. What's y2? -1. What's y1? Or sorry, what's x2? 2. What's y1? 1. What's x1? 2. So we end up with -2 on top and 1 on bottom. 0. So this is
Undefined. So this line
undefined. How do you know?
No, it's not. Yeah, it is.
So
no,
Faith-
It's not. No, it's not.
Faith says they're
No, I
perpendicular.
didn't say that. Faith didn't say why you have so many.
No, you said they're perpendicular.
I did not say that. Everybody knows.
So, why did you say that? She's not down.
Yeah, she is.
Okay, this one, slope of 0, right?
Yeah.
Is this one rising or running?
Running.
It just runs, right? Horizontal line. It's not like
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
used
now it's
to. Okay.
vertical.
This one, is it rising or running?
It's rising.
Rising.
Actually lowering.
Vertical line. Right? Is vertical and horizontal perpendicular?
Yes.
Yes. So in this case, number 1
Faith.
is perpendicular to number 2. So Jamira, I think you owe Faith an apology.
Sorry,
All right.
So that was.
Okay.
So-
So it's yes.
Yep, that is yes. That is the special case right there. It's the only special case. Everything else, as long as they're negative reciprocals, they're perpendicular. If I have 0, which means horizontal, and undefined, which means vertical, those are perpendicular as well. Okay? Does that make sense? So on our notes, we need to add one thing to the slope. Okay? They're perpendicular if the slopes are negative reciprocals, or 0 and undefined. Okay? So negative reciprocals or 0 and undefined. Right? Does that make sense, guys? Are there any questions about the slope business
Are we done?
and parallel and perpendicular? We're not done yet. If we get down to our examples in time on the worksheet,
We should, because I need
Okay.
That was a good example.
we did 2. We're going to do some more.